Today on Commander Replay, I got 99 cards, but a creature ain't one. Can Chromium be the lone dragon to take down Aryel, Silas, Renn, and K&T? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Chromium the Mutable. I got 99 cards, but a creature ain't one. Let's take a look at our opening hand. We have Crucible of Worlds, no fetch lands yet, but there's plenty in the deck. Signet, a board wipe. See what our opponents are playing. Anything that's going to help us out at all. This is a Kanaos. Kanaos will get us some extra card draw, so I think we're okay to keep this. There's also a reasonable amount of card draw in our deck, so we should be able to find something before too long. So as I mentioned, we're playing Chromium the Mutable. Is 4 white, blue, black for a 7/7 with flash, flying, can't be countered, and you may discard a card until end of turn. It becomes a 1/1 human that loses all abilities, gains hexproof, and can't be blocked. Kind of weird ability. I know they were trying to mirror something in the story. I'm not super familiar with the story of Chromium, although I thought that all the Elder Dragons were dead, other than I think Vivictus Asmati was not confirmed. But I'm not exactly sure what the story for M19 is, that they were able to bring back the Elder Dragon legends, but I'm kind of excited that they're back. Anyway, when I was reading the article about when they designed Chromium, they really wanted something that was just straight up an Esper control finisher. Obviously, you can tell that that's where they were going with this card. I'm a little disappointed in the art for Chromium. They kind of gave him the Edward Cullen treatment. Great. It's a sparkly vampire. Real vampire, sparkly vampire. Real vampire, sparkly vampire. I like the original, where it was just a big heavy metal dragon that looked really hardcore. It was one of my favorite cards from back in the day. Obviously, the Rampage ability, not very good. But still, the Elder Dragons were interesting in that they were massive creatures that didn't have significant drawbacks. They did have an upkeep, but they weren't like Lord of the Pit or Force of Nature kind of drawbacks. We draw into a Reliquary Tower. That will be helpful. This is a Plains. We have a Glacial Fortress. So let's play the Glacial Fortress, play the Signet, and pass the turn. So while I was talking, the Aryel opponent laid down a turn 1 Sol Ring, and they're going to follow that up with a turn 2 Ghostly Prison. Seems pretty good. Silas Renn laid down a turn 1 Voltaic Key. And the K&T opponent laid down a Simic Signet. As I just kind of mentioned, we are facing off against Aryel, Knight of Windgrace, Silas Renn, Seeker Adept, and Kanaos and Tiro of Miletus. A Propaganda for the Silas opponent, so everyone getting their prison effects on. We have a couple in this deck, so this is not the game to be playing aggro, I guess. I assume that Aryel is on some sort of Knight Tribal or Activated Ability Tribal kind of thing. Probably some combination of those two. We'll see. Brings it back to our turn. Ooh, we got a fetch land for our Crucible of Worlds. That's nice. Right here, I'm thinking Reliquary Tower, Crucible of Worlds. I'm going to tap out right here because playing a control deck like this, we're going to have to hold up priority during our opponent's turns a lot. And with a 40-minute clock, that'll wear down pretty fast. So I don't want to time out. So any turn where I can F6, I will, just because I know that we are going to burn a lot of clock. And our deck also isn't going to win particularly quickly. Cabal Paladin coming into play. Whenever you cast a historic spell, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Yeah, that seems fine. It's reasonable and sealed. Played with it a little bit while I was at DreamHack. Possibly a little underwhelming for Commander, although if you have a lot of mana rocks, could be alright. You could probably get 6-8 damage out of that thing. Just that at 2 toughness, it will die to almost anything. A lot of stuff coming down for the Silas Renn, so they play a Trinket Mage, they search up a Sol Ring, they play the Sol Ring, they have a Voltaic Key out, which means that they can get 3 mana out of that Sol Ring on their next turn. So Silas Renn getting the artifact ramp going. There's a Karamitra for the K&T opponent. Anyway, that brings it back to our turn. Right here, we will play an Arid Mesa, crack an Arid Mesa. Let's get, we don't really have anything to do with our mana, so we'll get a tap land. We have no tap lands in these colors. I guess Hallowed Fountain. Hallowed Fountain seems fine. Actually, we should have got a land with some black in it. Only 1 black source and Drowned Catacomb, which we can play next turn. Although, as long as Crucible sticks around for another turn, then we can use the Arid Mesa again to just keep making lands. Arvad the Cursed coming into play. Ooh, fun. Vampire Knight. That is a historic spell, so each opponent's going to lose 2 life. I like what we have in our hand right now with the 2 board wipes in Wrath of God and Merciless Eviction. That means we can take care of most things that'll be a problem. Right now, there appear to be a lot of enchantments piling up on the board with Karamitra and Ghostly Prison and Propaganda. Frantic Search for our opponent. Discards a Tezzeret and a Buried Ruin. Gonna Voltaic Key the Sol Ring, get some additional mana. Opponent does have an Inventor's Fair in place, so they can search for whatever artifact they want. Trophy Mage coming down. I might start thinking about this negate soon. Let's see what they reveal. Assume this is probably some sort of like Paradox Engine combo kind of deck. That's what I assume you would do with blue-black artifacts. A Chaos Wand. Target opponent exiles cards from their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put that card on the bottom. Yeah, we have a lot of instants and sorceries in our deck. I don't know that I want opponent to have that. Opponent's going to play a Tezzeret. Ooh, I don't know if I want them to have that either. Yeah, I think Tezzeret's a little too good. We're going to counter that. And given the way the board state is right now, opponent has a couple blockers out, so they'll be able to protect that Tezzeret for a couple turns, which I don't particularly love. So I think it makes sense to use negate on the Tezzeret right there. It's either going to generate a ton of mana or tutor up whatever they want most, and both of those are pretty good. Ooh, Rites of Flourishing, yes! Card draw, bring on the card draw. Also, that means we can get multiple lands into play, which I really like. Meekstone. Creatures with power 3 or greater do not untap. That is most of the creatures in play right now. There's a Decree of Pain for us. That'll be some nice card draw. Currently 4 creatures on board for the Decree of Pain. I'm going to wait till it's a few more. Really want to draw a lot of cards with it. We also draw a Mana Crypt, so we'll lay down the Mana Crypt. That'll be very, very useful. Play the Drowned Catacomb, play the Arid Mesa, and pass the turn. So we're actually in a position where we can just slam Chromium now. I guess Chromium won't untap, which is sort of a problem. Yeah, it does not have Vigilance, unfortunately. So even if we do that, it may not be the best thing ever. Now, this Rites of Flourishing is going to go really well with the Arid Mesa Crucible of Worlds combo. We can make sure that we are hitting 2 lands every single turn, and that will be really awesome. Hoping opponents run a few more creatures out there just so we can fuel up the Decree of Pain. Based on the way that this game is going, we're going to need to look at some extra cards. Aryel, Knight of Windgrace coming down, and that's going to trigger the Cabal Paladin one more time. Aryel, now a 6/6 from the Arvad the Cursed. Opponent thinks about an attack and then pulls it back. Doesn't want to deal with the Meekstone. This deck doesn't have quite as much artifact spot removal as I would like. I found it really difficult to balance everything out. There's a Mirran Crusader. One of my favorite knights, and Mirran Crusader as a super cool weapon. I don't know what that thing is, like a Klingon blade or something, but insert something Klingon here. Looks really sweet. Used it to try and drive back the Phyrexians, which, as I understand it, did not go very well. So, no action for the Silas opponent. That's interesting. Maybe they're going to end step tutor with Inventor's Fair. That's a Dictate of Karamitra? Wow. So, K&T really doing the group hug thing. The question is, no one's committed a lot of creatures to the board. If we play Chromium, that does mean that we'll have a blocker in case anyone wants to attack us for any reason. I think it's worth doing, even though we'll probably lose our Chromium to one of our own board wipes fairly soon. I'm not exactly in the position where I want to cast one of our board wipes yet, so I think it makes sense right here in case someone has spot removal on the Meekstone. So Chromium the Mutable coming into play. Opponent going to counter us. Opponent doing a little mana check. Gonna use the Voltaic Key on the Sol Ring. Opponent's gonna pull from tomorrow, X12. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Yeah, that's a lot of cards. That is a lot of cards. Bet they found their combo in that. I would love to see our pull from tomorrow off the top. That would be pretty sweet. Crack this Arid Mesa right now. Get something with some black mana. Get this Godless Shrine. Untapped. And pass and bring it back to our turn. Mana Crypt flip. Go Tails. Won the flip. Nice. There's a black market. Ooh, the Mystical Teachings. Nice. We're probably going to need to counter stuff from our opponent. So Mystical Teachings counterspell would be 6 mana. We'll definitely want to leave that up. That would look like... Use the Arid Mesa, crack the Arid Mesa, do the Arid Mesa trick again, crack the Arid Mesa, and I think we pass like that. Do we attack anyone? Yeah, we'll attack the guy with 14 cards. That seems like the right plan. We have to pay 2 to do that. Yeah, we'll use Mana Crypt. Opponent goes down to 29-7 Commander. Opponent's going to Merciless Eviction for all artifacts. Ooh. We are going to lose our Crucible of Worlds, so I'm glad we got the value out of it when we did. I'm going to let that resolve because the Meekstone is actually a pretty big problem. That's going to free up the Aryel opponent's creatures as attackers, which I think is going to be important against the guy who just drew 14 cards. Konda's Banner coming down. There's one you don't get to see much of. A lot of times it's honestly easier to run things from Light from Within or Dictate of Heliod. Konda's Banner wants you to jump through some hoops to get the bonus on your creatures, although opponent's creature's looking pretty big now. Got an 8/8 Aryel, 4/4 Mirran Crusader, 5/5 Arvad, and a 6/4 Cabal Paladin. Really, opponent's going to swing at us. Turn off auto yields. How much mana do we have left? We have 3, that's 6, 12 mana. So potentially we could do something like Comeuppance right here. That would use 8 mana. I think I'm just going to sit on it because I think whatever the Silas opponent has is going to be worse. We do have a couple ways to gain life back in the deck, not a ton. Whew, all the way down to 14. That was a really big hit. Aryel will be in pretty big trouble next turn, though, when we play this Decree of Pain. Rights Flourishing for our opponent. He gets to draw an extra card. Up to 16 cards in hand. Now, the good thing is, too, if we counter everything the right way, then they're probably also going to have to discard a ton to hand size. I don't see any infinite hand size stuff yet for them, so... opponent's going to cast a Darksteel Forge. Nah, I'm fine with that, actually. We have Merciless Eviction. We can go Merciless Eviction on artifacts. Or, maybe it's worth a counterspell. Yeah, I mean, there's not a better mana drain target than Darksteel Forge. Let's do it. Get our mana drain. Use our mana drain. And Silas Renn scoops it up. Nice. I'm not sure if we're going to get the mana on our turn or not. Ooh, that's a Mind's Dilation. How much mana? It's 6 to flash back the Mystical Teachings. Unfortunately, we don't have any more mana left, so that's going to resolve. Oh, do we use the Mystical Teachings right here? I think I'm going to save it for more of an emergency situation. Ooh, there's an Oath of Lieges. Black Market, no counters on it currently. Gonna play the Polluted Delta, Prairie Stream. If we use Decree of Pain, we'll get to draw 1, 2, 3 creatures. We get to draw 3 cards. 3 isn't the best. I think we have to Decree of Pain. Opponent's probably just going to attack into us, which also means that we should do some attacking while we're at it. So, I'm actually going to go after the K and T opponent right here because I've learned that leaving the K and T opponent alone is a really bad idea. We are way ahead of our opponents in terms of land count right now, so this Oath of Lieges is not going to be the best for us. So we're just going to hang on to that. And I guess, yeah, play the Decree of Pain. It's going to trigger Mind's Dilation. Hopefully they hit a land. Ooh, nice. We draw into a Time Twister. Yeah, we get some counters on Black Market. All right. Things are shaping up. Let us play the Rhystic Study. We got a Tutor in there also. Even better. I think I'm going to pass like that. That'll leave us 8 mana, which leave us exactly enough to Mystical Teachings into a counterspell if we need to. All right, opponent catching up on lands a little bit that turn. Oh, Bojuka Bog. Going to Bojuka Bog us. In response to that, we will use the Mystical Teachings. Opponent's getting another Mind's Dilation trigger. Looks like the last thing opponent hit was a Fetid Pools. Ooh, Austere Command. That could get us. Although the opponent would lose all of their own enchantments if they cast it. Nope. Not going to use the Austere Command. So, our Mystical Teachings is going to resolve. What to get? I think I like Anguished Unmaking on the... Yeah, I'm going to go for the Utter End right here. Getting rid of the Mind's Dilation will be a really good idea. So our graveyard gets exiled, which is unfortunate. There were some nice things in there. Feel a little bit shields down without grabbing a counterspell right there, but what can you do? Opponent's going to cast a Righteous Confluence. Ooh. Going to exile our Rhystic Study and the Mind's Dilation. Mind's Dilation's good. Getting rid of that will be a really, really good thing. Opponent gets a Benelish Marshal with the Mind's Dilation trigger, which is also going to trigger Karamitra. We're going to use the Rhystic Study. Ooh, there's our counterspell. Yeah, I'm going to let that resolve because getting rid of Mind's Dilation is going to be more important than us holding on to that Rhystic Study. We do have no max hand size thanks to Reliquary Tower at this moment, so that's good. Karamitra is now a creature, and opponent gets a 2/2 Knight off of something. Oh, the Confluence itself. Yep, that makes sense. Arrogant Bloodlord coming down for our opponent. Rites of Flourishing for the K&T opponent. Ooh, a Mirari's Wake. Thinking no on the Mirari's Wake. It'll probably also mess up their turn quite a bit. The big problem with that Mirari's Wake is that it would put opponent at, 8 and 12 damage, would put us down to 1 if they attack. So, not loving that idea. Crawl Space. No more than 2 creatures can attack you each combat. Fun. We do have a Rite of Replication. Haven't seen anything super worth Rite of Replicating yet. Humble Defector, you say? Yep, opponent's going to hit us with both. This is going to hurt a little bit. Puts us 2/3. I'm thinking Blind Obedience is a good card right here because we want to get some life back. So back to our turn, Rites of Flourishing trigger. Oh, that's an Expropriate. We get a Black Market trigger. I mean, we can do so much this turn. Play the Scrubland, play this Island. Probably need to exile the enchantments, although we might be able to steal the Karamitra. Stealing Karamitra doesn't do all that much for us. Ooh, let's see. So many things to do. Do we exile the enchantments yet? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we do, because if they turn Karamitra on for some reason, then Karamitra will just kill us. So, That being the case, we're going to exile all enchantments. All enchantments are exiled. Next, we are going to destroy all creatures. Oh, we should have tapped all our mana first. I tapped our mana wrong. Oh, we need to tap out all of our mana in response to... Oh, that's bad. That is bad. Well, that being the case, play the Demonic Tutor, get Blind Obedience, play the Blind Obedience, play Wrath of God, and we'll extort. Boom! Alright, so extorting our opponents, gaining some life back. Huge misplay right there. If we tapped out all our mana, we basically could have played every card in our hand. Aryel coming back into play. Comes in tapped. Blind Obedience. Oh, such a fun card. Open the vaults. Return all artifacts and enchantments from the graveyard to the battlefield. Are there any? Gets Mirari's Wake. That's it. Wow, that's really wants that Mirari's Wake out there. Actually, what we should do is expropriate and steal their Mirari's Wake. Play this Arcane Sanctum. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah, so we'll play expropriate right here. See what our opponents want to do with it. We will extort one time. Pay for the extort. We go up to 7 life. I'm going to vote for time. Based on what everyone's told me, our opponents should vote for money. Did they all go time? Wow, we get 3 turns. Oh my god. Well, Oath of Liege is not going to do much for us. That is a lot of turns. So all we do is like cast our commander and start attacking with it. Seems pretty solid. Cast our Chromium. Pay for the extort trigger. Painful Truth. Painful Truths will be really good, actually. More cards will be most helpful. Attack the K&T opponent. 16 commander damage. Use the Painful Truths. Pay for the extort trigger. Up to 11. Get some extra cards. Ooh, Vindicate. Play this Signet. Extort again. Up to 11. Do we Time Twister yet? Man, I like all the removal in our hand. I don't think we do. We have it in case we need it. Start our next extra turn. Play this Aura of Silence. Extort again. Attack the K&T. This should be lethal on them. Oh, gonna Cyclone the Chromium. Do we use the discard ability? Yeah, we'll use the discard ability. Why not? We'll try it out one time. Discard this Oath of Lieges. Give it hexproof. It's still a 3/3 based on something. Not sure why. Yeah, who knows. So, fizzles the Cyclonic Rift. Do we have one more turn? Nope, that was the end of our turn cycle. But, that was a pretty good one. Silverblade Paladin coming down for our opponent. Gonna Soul Bond with the Aryel and give it Double Strike. It's a 6 with Double Strike, so we gotta be a little bit careful. Probably use the Comeuppance on Aryel if they decide to attack into us. Ooh, Whisper Silk Cloak. Well, shouldn't matter too much with the Comeuppance. Opponent gonna try it, or they want to take down the K&T opponent? Let's find out. Yep, they're gonna try it. Joke's on you, opponent. Comeuppance, the ultimate joke card. Pay for the extort trigger. We go up to 15. Oh, the Konda's Banner is what made Chromium the 3/3. That makes sense. So damage is prevented. Aryel goes back to the command zone. And at the end step, we're going to utter end this Mirari's Wake. And we will extort one more time. All the way back up to 17 from 3 life with the Blind Obedience. That is largely in part due to the massive amounts of card draw that we had, though. Karamitra will get a free crack at it this turn, though, since we are shields down right now. But they also need to stop our commander, because our commander does have lethal on them. That's a Gisela. That's a real magic card. It does come in tapped, though. Blind Obedience. Yes. So many people misplay into Blind Obedience and Authority of the Consuls. So many times. Usually that's happening to me, quite honestly. But I see that so often with Blind Obedience and Authority of the Consuls. So opponent scoops it up. They know what's coming. Brings it back to our turn. We get an island. Play the island. Do we just Rite of Replicate on the Silverblade Paladin? I think we do. I think we're at a point in the game where that makes sense. All right, to replicate the Silverblade Paladin, we're going to pay 9 to do that. Get an extort trigger. Pay for the extort all the way back up to 18. Get many Silverblade Paladins. Oh my god, that's so many. Opponent says have fun with all the triggers. Didn't realize there would be that many, quite honestly. We'll pair it with the Chromium. Alright, got through all our triggers. Let us go to combat. Swing with the Chromium. Opponent takes double strike damage from Chromium, 14 commander, down to 17 life. And we will pass the turn like that. Feel pretty good about where we're at. If opponent tries to get tricky with his Whisper Silk Cloak, we can Aura of Silence it and then just block the creature. Opponent going to recast their commander. That is not going to do it. And they scoop it up. Nice. Chromium Esper Control. I got 99 cards, but a creature ain't one. Getting there. Interesting game. So the K&T opponent really kind of skews how the game plays out, because with the Rites of Flourishing and the Dictate of Karamitra, we had way more mana than we ever should have had. But, I mean, at no point did I ever really feel nervous. We have such good cards in our deck that even when we went down to 3, I'm like, well, we've got tutors and board wipes, so we should be able to get out of this pretty easily. So, yeah, Esper Control in this game had everyone locked down. No one really able to break through what we had going on. The Aryel did get us for some damage, but we did have the ability to prevent that if we wanted to take that line of play. But I wanted to hold on to some of our cards just a little bit longer during that sequence. But yeah, who would have thought basically only Chromium as our win condition would get there? WotC wanted an Esper Control finisher. I give you an Esper Control finisher, Chromium the Mutable. You don't need any other creatures in your deck. Just a crap ton of removal and card draw. Oh, anyway, yeah, like I said, so probably not the most representative game of how this deck would truly play because of the Karamitra, so you have to take that into consideration if this is something that you're looking at. But there is some cool stuff in the deck. Alternate win condition, we have Revel in Riches. If there are a lot of creatures out, just wipe the board and see if we can get there with treasure tokens. We have Time Stop, which is just a card that I've been wanting to use somewhere on someone. Seems fun. Great Betrayal is another card that I've been trying to find a home for, and I think it fits in this deck pretty well, where just slam that enchantment down and lay down a board wipe, and then we're going to be gaining control of all the creatures. Rise of the Dark Realms, another finisher. But yeah, Esper Control, getting there. Other than the one misplay with the mana when we exiled the Dictate of Karamitra, I felt like I played it pretty solid, even though I don't typically consider myself a control player. You guys don't see me playing too much control on the channel. But yeah, it went pretty smooth for us that game. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.